I'm Jessica Ridley. Welcome to Sustaining Australia TV 2022, delivered to you from the Kellogg Australia site in Sydney, where they've been manufacturing cereal for almost 100 years. Sustaining Australia TV is an innovative online news-style program proudly brought to you by the Australian Food and Grocery Council and ASN Media. This new program continues our coverage of the issues and the discussion around the key topics of importance to the nation's food and grocery manufacturing industry. Every day, this industry provides essentials for Australians and consumers all over the world. Even as businesses navigate the challenges of a pandemic and supply chain disruptions, they remain focused on innovation, growth and a sustainable future. In this episode, we look at the circular economy. We showcase actions members are taking to build a circular economy, closing the loop to recycle and reuse valuable resources. We hear from the AFGC Chief Executive Officer on the industry vision around developing that model.
We recognise that as big users of packaging, we have a responsibility, and it's important to consumers as well as the planet that we get this right.
And we hear key business leaders' thoughts on the opportunities and challenges of developing a circular economy for the food and grocery industry.
Remaining focused, learning to collaborate more, and embracing all new science and technology needs to remain a focus.
AFGC CEO Tanya Barden knows the potential of Australian food and grocery manufacturing. Tanya shares her vision for a cleaner and greener industry and describes the role AFGC and its members can play.
Australia's food and grocery industry is recognised globally for being clean and green, and it really fits with that image that we make sure that we are leading in terms of creating a circular economy and really pushing forward with improving recycling rates. So the industry sees that there's opportunity from this, but it's also just the right thing to do. We recognise that as big users of packaging, we have a responsibility, and it's important to consumers as well as the planet that we get this right. So manufacturers are working with the waste industry, the packaging industry and others, including governments, to be able to get the right policy settings in place and to make sure that there is investment going in where needed. As a sector, we've identified a roadmap with actions that businesses can take, including adopting the recycling label, changing their packaging formats to be more recyclable and reusable. We've also identified areas where the waste industry and governments need to invest in new technologies to improve recycling rates. And then lastly, an area we're looking at is the creation of standards and traceability through the supply chain to make sure that the packaging that's reused and recycled is actually safe for consumers. Apart from that, we're also really leading the development of a product stewardship scheme for soft plastics. This will see consumers able to put their bread bags, their frozen chip bags, their confectionery wrappers into their curbside bin and be able to have that processed through advanced chemical recycling and make its way back into food grade reused content into packaging. So this is a really exciting new development, and AFGC and our members are leading on this.
When it comes to the circular economy, closing the loop through production and recycling, collaboration, partnerships are key to success. Coca-Cola Europacific Partners Australia is a leader in beverages focused on sustainability and working towards a circular economy for plastic packaging. But as Simon Reeve discovered, CCEP understands it can't solve the challenges by itself and welcomes playing its part in working with others.
Seismic changes are brewing through the food and beverage industry, led in part by one of the world's most recognisable brands.
It's critical that we take a leadership role. The first reason is actually for our consumers. They care about it. They're voting with their feet. They expect companies like us to stand behind our products and ensure that it's sustained and recycled. It's also critical for our retailers. We're getting customers who are making choices based upon it. And most importantly, it's critical for our own employees.
Driving a circular economy is at the heart of CCEP's everyday operations. Waste isn't a dirty word. It's something the team is genuinely passionate about.
What we're trying to do is, for every bottle we put out there, is collect and reprocess it back into packaging. It's trying to avoid that bottle finding its way to landfill.
For us, we have 4 key materials that represent 95% of our focus. The biggest areas for us is aluminium cans, Today, 60% of the content that we have in aluminium cans is recycled content. We also have glass. Glass for us is relatively low. It's in the 30s, but again, we'll drive that over time with our supply partners. And then with folding boards, whether it be cardboard or hardboard, we've got a journey there of more to go. We've made really good progress. Our quantity today across those is strong, but we have a clear path forward to make it even stronger. And for this one of a plastic bottle, this was really our key challenge. We import the recycled material today because we couldn't source it domestically.
To that end, CCEP, in partnership with Pact Group, Cleanaway and Asahi Beverages, has recently opened Australia's largest PET recycling plant. Located in Albury-Wodonga, there's a second plant due in Melbourne soon.
They take the bottles and the big bales of waste bottles and convert it into what we call small resin pellets. And those resin pellets are sold to customers like Asahi and ourselves at CCEP, where we convert them back into bottles in our plants that are then returned to the customer.
Combined, the plants will recycle the equivalent of 2 billion PET bottles each year.
Coke versus Pepsi is a battle, but not when it comes to sustainability. I felt enormous pride to know that we'd solved this, to see this becoming a bottle again.
Examples of producer responsibility and industry collaboration like this is something environmental organisation Planet Ark hopes to see more of.
So if you can imagine, the biggest companies have the biggest extraction resources on the planet, and therefore when they can change whole ways of doing things in the economy.
Collaboration is happening across the board, including with governments at all levels.
I think what's important to understand is no one person, company, body, organisation can solve this on their own. What you really need is to bring a range of expertise and solutions to the piece.
We'll need a significant increase in infrastructure, and that's going to create Australian jobs. It's going to keep the materials in circulation within our economy, and then reduce environmental impact.
Critical to closing the loop are container deposit schemes, which make recycling easy and rewardable for consumers, while ensuring a clean waste stream.
I think there'll be the biggest difference in consumer behaviour, because in the future this whole idea of I recklessly leave a piece of rubbish, people will look at that material and the personal responsibility that will drive the collection rates.
Sustainability isn't simply about packaging. For Coca-Cola to continue its viability, the well-being of the people who consume its products worldwide is front and centre.
We've really focused on three key things. One is around renovation and innovation of our portfolio. Two, smaller pack sizes. And the third thing is around responsible marketing. So we've been really busy. We're really proud of our progress over the years as well. There's still more to do though. Even though we've changed our marketing guidelines, we've done a lot of reformulations over the last few years. So we've now done 27 product reformulations by reducing sugar. Our actual no sugar decrease has been 14.9% since 2015. And we're well ahead, and we are targeting that minus 20% by 2025.
From sugar reduction to packaging recyclability and recycling, transformation is in the air.
We see more customers asking questions, more consumers asking questions, more stakeholders, investors asking questions. It's not enough to talk the talk anymore. You've really got to be able to demonstrate, publicly that you are walking the walk and taking that leadership and taking accountability.
So it's about partnering. It's about being innovative. We asked AFGC board members and sector leaders for their thoughts around building a circular economy.
Many of the companies in the Australian food and grocery sector are now fast rewriting their social contracts. And in order to be much more inclusive and sustainable in taking a proactive role, not only for their businesses, but also for the balance of society and environmental stakeholders as well.
Well, for me, I think the mantra that you hear is absolutely right. The first step is reduce, the second step is reuse, and the third step is recycle. And to me, all of us as citizens, both individuals and as corporate citizens, this is what we should be trying to do to protect the planet and the lives that we have.
Selling the product is actually the simple part. We need to be really driving collection, and we need to be driving recycling, and then we need to be working with our suppliers to ensure that it comes back as that again. So we embrace that through the container deposit scheme. That levy of 10 cents actually drives great collection rates. It also drives the purity. We then need an ecosystem that can go into. So we're fortunate in areas like cans that's available, glass. We had to put a big focus in plastic bottles to create it. So today we use imported recycled material. That's not good enough. But by creating the demand, we know that we create the supply, which we've been able to do recently with our joint venture with Circular Plastics Australia.
We believe that plastics has a role in this industry and certainly in our products in helping quality and safety, but certainly doesn't have a place in the environment. So what we need is a circular economy that's built on accountability, responsibility, some harmonisation, and certainly education at the core so that we can create the coalition of the willing and able to create this circular economy in Australia.
We're looking to embrace circular economy and plastics in particular by reducing the amount of plastics that we use. We want to redesign our packaging to take those problematic materials out of the ecosystem and make sure they are designed for circularity. But then we have to invest in the ecosystem as well, the collectors, the recyclers themselves, to make sure that we have an ecosystem that's set up to truly make this resource circular.
There are a number of challenges facing the food and beverage industry, but one thing remains constant. What we consume has to taste good. McCormick has been adding flavours to kitchens around the world for more than a century. But the company's looking towards the future to ensure the process is not only sustainable for the environment, but for the long-term financial viability of growers and the communities they're a part of in Australia and abroad. Jessica Ross has this story.
In every culture and cuisine, the flavour of food is key. It has to taste good. It's even better if it's good for you and the planet. Finding sustainable ways to capture flavour has become crucial in this growing global market. At this property in Pomona on Queensland's Sunshine Coast, the fertile fields are full of flavour. The Templeton family has been growing ginger on the farm since the 1940s.
Certainly for us, we like to look long-term, and we look at long-term relationships as gold, to be perfectly honest.
The family-run business supplies to McCormick, a world leader in flavour. At the peak of the season, 35 tonnes of ginger passes through the packing shed each day. Each piece goes through a rigorous inspection before either being packed for sale or trucked to McCormick's Palmwoods plant and processed within 18 hours of harvest. At the plant, the goodness from the field is captured in a paste as part of the gourmet garden range.
Many people like to use ginger different ways, whether it's the fresh or the dried or the paste. So McCormick's have done a lot of research and development to be able to produce a product that is user-friendly as well.
Not only has gourmet garden become a household staple in Australia, it's also making its way into kitchens across America.
It's fantastic to see new markets and products that just sort of expand and reach out to places like the US.
The Templetons are among more than a dozen Australian growers handpicked by McCormick, not just for their high-quality produce, but their commitment to sustainable practices. McCormick collaborates with farmers and researchers on the latest innovations in agricultural technology.
We give them opportunities to improve and to be more cost-effective in their business model as well.
Some of it is sensor technologies, measuring things on farms that traditionally we haven't been able to measure. Others, things like robotics and automation.
Templeton Ginger has been using drones for a better perspective on crop health,
so that we can actually find disease like within crops quickly.
They've also installed moisture sensors, which helps prevent overwatering, working in turn to conserve this most precious resource. Researchers come from various fields, from private corporations and government departments to educational institutions like Central Queensland University.
We see ourselves as partners with the end users. We're not seeing them as funders or supporters of our research, but they're really partners in our research, and companies that have a similar perspective are the ones that we really want to work with.
This year, McCormick and Company ranked the 14th most sustainable corporation in the world and #1 in the food products category in the Corporate Knights Global 100 Sustainability Index.
The company isn't just focused on improving sustainability in its own backyard, but also in other countries and communities where it sources its herbs and spices.
In a first for the spice industry, McCormick's introduced a certification program called Grown for Good.
The aim of Grown for Good is actually to assist in developing sustainable communities and an ethical product.
Regardless of the location or the crop being produced, there's a common goal.
Every farmer also is looking at continuing to run that operation into the future. So there's a lot of interest in practices that will contribute to that long-term environmental sustainability of production systems.
Providers like McCormick have to continuously predict flavour trends to cater for consumer tastes and values. It all just goes to show even the tiniest ingredient in a meal can have the biggest impact on our plates and our planet.
Time to rejoin our industry leaders discussing the opportunities and challenges in moving to a circular economy for their businesses and the industry going forward.
Well, it's clear that consumers are actively looking for products that have a minimal impact on the environment. And so that's also a risk if we can't progress against that, but it's also an opportunity for us to utilize new technologies and increase the amount of recycled content in our products.
So the opportunities are absolutely huge. In all of my years of being a part of RedCycle, I can say that the timing has never been better. In terms of the risks or constraints, one of the things that we must make sure in terms of our industry is you have to make sure that the pipeline is the same at the beginning all the way through to the end of the circular economy, meaning that there's a robust and resilient pull-through or demand for recovered recyclable materials all the way through into Australian end markets.
On the risk side, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation has informed us that if we continue business as usual for the next 30 years, there'll be more plastics in the ocean than there will be fish, which is a terrible version of the future, and none of us want to create that. Another angle to look at it is our consumer is telling us this is what they want. We're seeing the devastation in some of our ecosystem, and they're demanding that the products that they buy are doing a better job, and we want to do that too.
So we're really pleased that we are now 100% using renewable electricity in our operations, and we're looking to now move to manufacturing and where we can use more renewable sources of energy there. Our fleet, particularly in New Zealand, is 100% hybrid, and we're looking to flow that out across the board. Sustainable sourcing of our products and the ingredients is something that we place very top of mind. And of course, removing carbon-based ingredients for more renewable ingredients in many of our products remains our focus. So we're super committed not only to the actions that can improve climate, but also those actions that allow us to offer better products in the process.
So currently we are moving very rapidly on recycled packaging, especially on soft plastics. We have our partnership with RedCycle. But we also are very excited about the potential for advanced chemical recycling for soft plastics in Australia. Australia has the opportunity to be at the forefront of this technology, and we certainly would be excited to see that technology develop here.
We operate in a very dynamic, complex and ever-changing environment in food and grocery. And I think for me, the risk is that other priorities take a higher level of focus than sustainability and circular economy opportunities as these pressures become more urgent. So I think remaining focused, learning to collaborate more, and embracing all new science and technology needs to remain a focus.
This industry knows the importance of sustainable solutions that protect the environment. The proactive steps businesses are taking now are laying the groundwork for a bright future. Tip Top Bakeries is one company that is taking this approach. Reporter Simon Reeve has more.
Tip Top Bakeries has been making bread for Australians since 1958. Today, on the factory floor and in the boardroom, the company's focus centres on sustainability.
Our vision is to feed Aussie families more sustainably, and at the core of that is the philosophy of acting now for a better tomorrow, and the launch of these bread tags is a key one of those initiatives that's about doing something now.
100% recyclable tags made from 100% recycled cardboard, developed internationally and successfully tested and improved in Australia by Tip Top, have become a driver of industry change.
So for consumers, this tag is a reminder that every time they buy a loaf of bread, they have a critical role to play in the larger sustainability picture. For a company like Tip Top Bakeries with such enormous reach, small things can equate to very big numbers.
This initiative will eventually remove 400 million pieces of single-use plastic from local waste streams.
On a pre-pandemic trip to Canada, Capital Projects manager Lukesh Kathuria found a machine capable of producing cardboard tags. Back home, very excited, he got approval for rigorous testing.
This looks a simple tag, but it's a combination of 3 or 4 layers attached and compacted to make it to a more robust, sustainable finished product.
It was one of those moments where you go, that is a really interesting idea. Let's explore that.
The rollout started in South Australia in 2020. The tag had to hold up in a real-world environment. It won instant recognition and acceptance with consumers.
After all the things we've been talking about, this is the final product.
Yeah, see, look how amazing it feels. That's our final product.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that little tag.
Yeah, so you get the recyclable logo, you see the whole print. I would say it's one of the best projects I've been part of, and when it was all done in South Australia, that's what I said to my manager. Some dreams do come true, and it's kind of a dream project for me, to be very honest.
When finished with their tip-top loaf, the advice for consumers is simple.
All they need to do is pop them in their curbside recycling bins, but before they do that, make sure they place it in other cardboard or paper products, such as a used envelope.
Small pieces of plastic such as bread tags are problematic in recycling and waste streams. Planet Ark is pleased to see Tip Top designing out waste by replacing plastic bread tags with 100% recycled cardboard tags. When recycled correctly, the cardboard will be used again, closing the recycling loop and keeping resources in use.
I think consumers expect that companies like Tip Top are the ones that will be driving this and making the difference. Government can't necessarily drive it, they have a role to play, but business can drive it.
A lovely footnote. Hampered by COVID lockdowns, Lukesh couldn't travel for the launch, so he visited Johnston Park in Sydney, where there was a sculpture made from plastic bread tags.
Actually went there, got my photo shoot, and that was a really nice feeling, at least to be able to do something on that day when I was not able to go to the South Australia.
With COVID and everything that's going on in the world, I think sustainability has never been more important, and some of these initiatives have never been more meaningful. It's exciting, it's a little daunting to think about everything that still needs to be done, but we're absolutely in there having a go and making a difference.
That's all for Sustaining Australia TV for this episode. Keep an eye out for other episodes which will look further at the circular economy and sustainability, the important role of digital technology and the supply chain, and skills, growth and the community. We hope you can join us, but from me and the team, it's goodbye for now.